Tonight on Free Minds TV, we have yet another story about someone being arrested for videotaping police officers. We'll also be talking about a 21-year-old who peed in some drinking water with disastrous consequences. Also discussing the FBI seizing web servers, lip syncing on YouTube, and more tonight on Free Minds TV.
And welcome to another edition of Free Minds TV, where we challenge you, the viewer, to think outside the box. With you, as always, is Toby.
And Nick.
And for those of you who are counting, I think this is episode 22 of season 6 of Free Minds TV, or the 210th episode we've recorded. But, you know, we're trying to get the seasons right here.
Reclassifying that whole thing. So apparently when people see 207, they think it's season 2, episode 7.
So big thanks to Zeus for going back and making that happen, trying to archive that a little bit more correctly. Because, you know, when cable stations see us on Peg Media, which is where they download us from, and they see that we've been on for 6 years now, we're on our 6th season, it looks a little bit better than 2nd season. So a little less confusion. It'll probably help us reach more audiences. So thank you to Zeus, and we'll continue on doing more. That's in addition to some bonus stuff and PorcFest specials, which we're going to be, as this is premiering this Friday, we're going to be at PorcFest 2011 shooting a special, and we'll have that out on the different cable stations out there, as well as on the internet very shortly. Yeah, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. A lot of fun camping out there every time we've been. I think that's where we actually met. That's because of PorcFest, the reason for the TV show.
I can remember it now.
So it's some good news there, and we'll have an excellent special, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks coming out to you. But we do have a lot to get into. It's that time again for some police state tactics. We're also going to be getting into a little bit more humorous stuff about peeing and drinking water. Well, if you're not a taxpayer in Oregon, I guess it's humorous. But first, let's talk a little bit about the police state. We've been showing videos on this show for years of citizens getting arrested for videotaping the police in the line of duty. Usually, though, that's on public property. There's been a case here and there where it's on private property where police don't want to be videotaped. But typically, it's on public property that people are arrested for. Either way, you know, on the job, on the record, what do the police have to hide if they don't want to be videotaped? Earlier this week, though, I was stumbling around the internet and I came across this video that is well, it's a little bit interesting. It's not that the police didn't want to be recorded necessarily, they just wanted the homeowner off the property. Let's take a look at the video and then we'll talk about it. I do apologize, it's dark out, so it's not the best video quality, but listen to what's being said. I think the words are important here as we talk about this encroaching police state. Let's take a look.
You guys need something?
This is my front yard, I'm just recording what you're doing. It's my right.
Actually, not from the sidewalk.
This is my yard.
I don't feel safe with you standing behind me, so I'm going to ask you to go in your house. You understand? I don't feel safe with you standing behind me. And you seem to be very anti-police, so I don't feel safe with you standing behind me. Do you mind standing in the house?
I'm going to stand in my yard if that's okay.
Due to what you said to me before you started taping, I think you need to stay in your house, guys.
What did I say to you that offended you?
Standing behind us officers when we're doing a traffic stop.
I'm allowed to stand in my yard.
Go stand in your house.
I'm allowed to stand in my yard. I'm going to stay in my...
I'm going to ask you one more time. We don't feel safe with you standing right behind us when we're doing a traffic stop. I'm going to ask you to go into the house.
What?
No?
Yes. It's my right to be in my yard, and I'm sorry that you don't feel safe. All I have is a camera. I'm clearly wearing nothing. I have no weapons.
It does not matter. You're not listening to our orders right now. We don't feel safe with you standing behind us. You're not moving even a foot further back. You're going to be.
Do you want me to move a foot further back?
You're going to be under arrest. I already warned you.
I will move a foot further back. I'm not going to go inside my house. I feel like I need the fresh air right now.
Well, I'm going to arrest someone for not following police orders when we're asking her to
I'm asking you what the order...
It's very simple.
I don't understand your order.
I asked you to not stand behind us, okay?
You didn't ask me to not stand behind you.
Okay, listen, I'm not going to explain myself to you. What you're going to do is you're going to end up going to jail. I'm trying to give you a warning. Okay?
I'm going to back up.
You know what? I think you're going to go to jail. That's just not right.
Where's the car? What's going on?
No. Stay right here.
I'm sorry. I'm asking them what I'm observing what they're doing and they're arresting me. I don't understand what's going on. I did nothing. I did nothing.
I'm not doing anything.
No, you didn't. I'm a witness.
It's unreal.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I was standing in my front yard, concerned about what was going on in my neighborhood, and you're arresting me. What the hell is going on?
So, we never will know exactly what she said right beforehand. The video camera wasn't rolling, but apparently the police didn't like it, so they didn't want her on that front yard. And
Well, there's a separate charge for threatening a police officer, so if it was a threatening statement,
we just
they
said you're
haven't charged it.
anti-police. There wasn't anything about a threat. It
Right.
was just he
Well, she
didn't.
probably said something they didn't like.
Well, probably just being out there videotaping them, they didn't like. Which is troubling to me. You know, I know there's a lot of good police officers who do watch this show that appreciate the cameras being there, because if they're doing their job properly, the only thing it could be used for is evidence to prosecute whoever is being arrested. If they actually did something to hurt someone, it can only be to the police officer's benefit if they're doing their job. The fact that this was on private property, Nick, and they're telling her, get off your own private property, go inside your house, it's troubling to me. It's very troubling to me. You know, it harkens back to the time of Nazi Germany, where what do you think would have happened, say, when the Nazis rolled into, I don't know, Poland, and they decide all the Jews come out here and they're going to start executing them? What would have happened to a homeowner who decided they wanted to come out and observe or maybe watch it? You think that would have flown?
Yeah.
Of course not. The Nazis would have.
Executed.
No, but
traffic
it's
stops
steps,
and
Nick.
arrests.
It's steps, though.
Well,
It's a slippery slope
Right.
that you're getting to. And when the police officers are saying, no, you cannot observe what we're doing. You need to get off your own private property. You cannot observe us on your own private property and videotape us. Well, what's the next step?
Right. I mean, you could make a different argument. They might have had a better case to fall back on about officer safety. Number one, if it was a one officer stop, there were two officers there.
There were 3 police cruisers, Nick.
Right. So they could have that officer could have just kept an eye on her. I don't know why if they really needed 3 cops to process
Cruisers,
the actual
probably
arrest.
more officers.
Right. And beyond that, she was on her own private property. So, I mean, if police don't feel comfortable with you standing in your yard for whatever reason, they can. I mean, if she was causing a disturbance or interfering directly with police business, then they would have had something to arrest her for. Notice the officer was just citing the fact that she was not following orders. You don't really have to follow police officers' orders unless they're lawful orders. They need, if there's some law that they can cite that says they have the power to give you the order, or they can say you're in violation of the law, they can give you a warning. But he never clearly cited what law she was in violation of.
Right. Actually, I think the exact quote was, "I don't need to explain myself to you."
Yes. Well, we've heard that. We've heard that, or a paraphrase of that, offered a lot of times by police officers. Oh, well, just because I wear a uniform doesn't mean that I'm actually bound by the law.
It's so troubling to me, Nick, as we see more and more evidence of this police state, which I believe that we are actually living in. Yes, there are still some good cops out there, but the days of peace officers are far gone. We now have law enforcement officers, and I think that's very clear no matter which city you live in. They're not there to keep the peace. They're there to sniff out and look for lawbreakers or create lawbreakers in a case like this, supposed lawbreakers of not following a police order. It's so troubling to me to think that people who are observing the police cracking down on others are going to be arrested for that, even on their own private property, just for observing what the police are doing.
Yeah.
Keeping a watchful eye.
I mean, as far as the police officers, as far as them being videotaped, I mean, we've pointed out if you're on the job, you should be on the record. And also, at least in most places in the country, I'm pretty sure there have been plenty of court rulings that have pointed out that if you're on the sidewalk or in the street, as a police officer pointed out he was, there's no right to privacy. That goes for the people being arrested and for the police officers. Yep. And you can't assume, maybe it was the person taking the video, maybe it was her intention to make the police officers look bad, but she can't really make them look any different than they allow her to make them look. Yep. And it's just as easy to say that the video might work for the police and against the people being arrested. If the police claim that they had a legitimate reason to arrest those people, I don't know what it was, a traffic maneuver, maybe the people were supposedly drunk, maybe they found drugs in the vehicle, I don't know. But if any of those things are the case, maybe the video would support that. It doesn't necessarily work against the police to have citizens filming traffic stops.
Anyways, it is very troubling, and I'm sure this, unfortunately, this is not the last video like this we will be showing you, because they're popping up more and more, especially now that lots of people have video cameras. Everybody who has a cell phone essentially has a video camera that they can be using to pull out, and so we're seeing a lot more, and unfortunately, this will not be the last one. But we'll keep reporting on this because I think it's an important issue. I mean, the one thing that we have to stand up against a police state, besides numbers and stuff, is evidence, showing video cameras, showing any kind of police abuse out there by rolling the film. You know, cameras keep us all honest. Anyways, it doesn't stop there. It's not only on the local level that people get in trouble for this. It's also on the federal level with the kind of a police state here and their tactics of, you know, anything they do is right. And the FBI decided that in their roundup of internet hackers out there, it's time to go seize some file servers.
Based on the reporting here, it sounds like what may have happened had more to do with incompetence than necessarily with a police state mentality. I don't know if it was intentioned. The agents might just have been not very competent or not very tech savvy. Because what we're dealing with here is the seizure of web servers. So you should probably send agents who know a thing or two about the internet and how it works. It's not magic.
Well,
they're
it's their
actually
federal
servers
agents,
and
Nick.
computers talking to each other.
I know we haven't gotten into the story yet, but they're federal agents here. They
clients.
supposedly went through a lot of training. These FBI agents shouldn't just have any Joe off the street. It's someone who's a little bit more savvy, or at least that's what I thought. Maybe not. Maybe it is just some Joe off the street who knows absolutely nothing.
Well, you do receive more training, I think, than your typical local law enforcement
hope so.
officer, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're more competent when it comes to something like how the internet works. And here's the story here. The FBI seized web servers in a raid on a data center early Tuesday, causing several websites, including those run by the New York publisher Curb Network, to go offline. The raid happened at 1:15 a.m. at a housing facility in Reston, Virginia, used by Digital One, which is a company, a hosting company that has these servers based in Switzerland. The FBI did not immediately respond to requests for comment, but it did cause several websites to go down. And some of these websites here, I mean, one of them included an archiving site that saves articles that you would find online so that you can go back and find them later. Because if you do what we do a lot for this show and you look for news stories, a lot of times when you go back to a lot of these newspapers and other periodicals that put up content every day, well, those pages that they put up expire pretty quickly. They don't leave the stories out there forever. Some of them do, not all of them do. So a lot of times you need to go to an archiving service and look at the archive of the website for that day.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
well,
as you pointed out before the show, Toby,
the internet's finicky. I mean, being down for a day or two can destroy your business in the internet world. Yeah, if you're one of these huge websites out there, people will come back. But if you're a smaller startup, I mean, people come for a day, 24 hours, maybe they put a new bookmark on their tab. Maybe that's no longer where they're getting their news source. Despite the fact that it didn't need to go down this way. And Nick, this is why I do think this is a police state tactic, because if they just wanted to go get the servers, because this was investigating this hacker case, this little baby-faced 19-year-old from the UK, I guess, took down some CIA servers, and they're going after him for that. Anyways, they wanted to get some server data on that. If it wasn't a police raid style, if it wasn't this police state, they could have just asked the hosting company, which they did speak with. They located where the servers were. They could have just asked them, can you come in and show it to us, which one to take, rather than doing a raid in the middle of the night and seizing a whole rack of servers. There was no one there. They didn't need to go in like this, Nick. It didn't need to be a full-on raid in the wee hours of the morning. They could have just asked the company, who was very compliant with this, told them right where the rack of servers was, could have just asked him, can you come in and show us which server to take?
Yeah, that's certainly true. I mean, there is no need to go in the middle of the night, especially if you do have a warrant.
But guns were drawn, too.
If you have a warrant, I mean, you're
no one's there. There's an empty facility.
And you're not dealing with the company. Remember, the hosting company here, Digital One, is not the company that they have questions about. No. They have questions about a client, some other company or some other group or person who has a server in this hosting facility. So it's not as if the person whose server they're trying to seize is going to be anywhere near Reston, Virginia.
On the other side of the world.
Right. I mean, this is just a building full of servers. It's a building full of computers that are nowhere near the people who run these websites. It's just not how, the internet works in a certain way, and you don't need to be an expert in how it works to understand that there's no need to do a raid.
Yeah, but
to
Nick,
take one server.
I
from a
forget
hosting
sometimes.
facility.
If you didn't go in with guns drawn, police-style raid in the middle of the night, these junky FBI officers couldn't get their fix of an adrenaline rush. So that's what it is. We're just giving that
How
part
much of an adrenaline rush would you get if that was
Nick,
the reason
guns
why?
drawn, man. Guns drawn is always an adrenaline rush, and
Well,
I think that
I'm sure it's. I mean, I'm sure if you have free license to do it, it must be somewhat fun. But I mean, come on.
I'm
Empty
just
building?
trying to look for something here. Nick.
Servers.
Yes.
It's an empty building.
Let's take a
You
whole
might
rack.
find like one nerd who's there.
Is incompetence. Do you think that these the FBI is going to be compensating these people? Well, if they did, it wouldn't be those incompetent agents or the
I don't think they're going to volunteer to compensate them. I mean, maybe if a suit is filed, but there's going to be
and then it'll be the
expenses
taxpayer.
there.
Of
Yep.
course, it wouldn't be the incompetent buffoon bureaucrats. It would be
And
you
if-
and I as taxpayers.
And if compensation is made because they're going to wait until a suit is filed, then it's going to be more expensive.
Instead, they're not even commenting.
costs
It's
get
been
rolled in.
they didn't comment immediately. Reach for comment. It was well over a day, 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't put out a little memo. Oops, sorry, we're returning the servers right now. It shouldn't take all that long. I mean, they didn't take them very far. They could return
No,
those
the
servers.
FBI, their headquarters are pretty. I'm not sure where Reston, Virginia is, but my
Less than a
familiarity-
day's drive.
Oh, certainly. And I think most of these, Virginia actually has a lot of data centers in the state. I mean, they're big on this. It's one of the major hubs, but they're mostly close to like the Beltway. They're close to Washington, D.C., where presumably these FBI agents were coming from. So it really wouldn't be that difficult to bring the stuff back. Or how about this? Just make a phone call and let the company pick the stuff up. Of course, they are headquartered in Switzerland, but they must have U.S. employees because the stuff's not going to run itself.
Anyway, seems incompetence, police state style. I don't like any of it.
There's really no need to do the raid. I can't think of a plausible reason. Like sometimes they can justify it saying, well, we didn't know if they would be armed or we didn't know if they might flush the drugs. In this case, or they flush the servers. The host company doesn't really care about the charges for its client. They're probably not going to volunteer to hand over the server unless you have a warrant, because that's just bad business.
Yeah, but in a case like this, they'd love to just give the server
oh,
so that they
can... Oh,
can...
you've got a warrant. Oh, great.
Right.
Well, it's right here.
Let's not mess up with the other clients, and I'm sure those
Right.
clients are probably going to switch server companies. I wouldn't want to stay with the same one if they
It's not really the
killed
company.
my
It's not
business.
really the company's fault.
Yeah, Nick, but I want to go with them different companies still. I mean, this is how it happens. This is how the internet works, Nick. It's a new
It's a
age.
strange and wonderful place.
Anyways, moving right along. Speaking of incompetent bureaucrats, this is coming from Oregon. I thought this was an Onion article when I first read it. I had to go and get some additional sources on this one because I just didn't believe it. Portland Reservoir urination raises few health or scientific concerns, but it is pee. All right, this is coming from the Oregonian. For the administrator of Portland Water Bureau, the decision Wednesday to drain 7.8 million gallons of drinking water from the Mount Tabor Reservoir comes down to 6 words. Do you want to drink pee? David Staff asked. I guess he's the bureaucrat in question here. About 1:30 a.m. Wednesday, water officials say a 21-year-old Malola man was caught on camera urinating in one of Portland's uncovered reservoirs, one that provides water to a majority of Portlanders. Well, what do you do here? Do you just go along and say, well, it's being diluted in 7.8 million gallons of water along with all sorts of other animal pee, fish pee, bird pee, and poop, dead, rotting raccoons and the like. You know, this is what happens in uncover bodies of water. All sorts of gross stuff and this gets in there. But we're comforted by the fact that it's been being diluted with millions of gallons of water. A few ounces of pee here and there and rotting carcasses isn't really going to hurt it, unless you really think about it. I mean, if you think about it, it's gross. And I guess this bureaucrat official, Mr. David Staff, thinks it's gross because he says, I think I'm going to have a Coke for lunch today instead of water. Yeah, that's a good idea. Just drink Coke instead of water from now on because you don't like pee in your water. Said City Commissioner Randy Leonard. Oh, I guess he's not the David Staff. Sorry about that. Different bureaucrats who are afraid of the pee. I guess it's more than just one. I guess this guy oversees the Water Bureau. The Bureau recently began work on an $80 million project elsewhere to comply with federal rules to cover the city reservoirs. You can't just drink open water anymore. You got to have it covered. But does tossing out much water at a cost of about $36,000 make sense on a scientific angle? Well, they went and asked the professionals. And urine is pretty sterile, chemically speaking, said David Stone, an assistant professor of toxicology at the Oregon State University. I don't think there's anything to worry about, he says. Oh, so they went to some more. Gary Oxman, who's some health official in the county, and he says, no, don't worry about it, it's fine. They go, oh yeah, but it is pee, that's yucky. So they decide to flush it all. And it costs about $28,500 worth of water to replace the water, and about $7,600 for disposal fees. Where that money goes to, I'm not really sure. Why it costs $7,600 to dispose of their water, to dump it, it baffles me. But I guess they're the government, so they know best. Nick, what do you drink the water?
After somebody peed in 7.8 million gallons of water?
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you go? I mean, I go swimming in pools.
The thing people don't like...
Have you ever had a gulp of water in a swimming pool? That's like a few thousand gallons of water with tons of pee in it. Have you ever gulped that by accident?
We've covered, I think we covered, what was it, San Francisco, where they're having serious sewer issues.
Yeah.
Especially if you live in a major metro, and I know that most of our viewers on the TV stations don't. But municipalities that have aging systems, which is most of them, chlorinate or fluoridate their water for a reason. That's because the sewage pipes crack and leak, and the water pipes crack and leak. So it is an issue.
You mean that taste
in
of
that
bleach?
Case.
That taste of bleach isn't there just because people like it?
Well, they do it here in Keene. I don't know if it's for the same reason, but it tastes like without using the filter on the tap. It tastes like a pool. Yeah. It tastes like I'm drinking a cold
I think it was just
pool.
about 10 episodes, maybe 20 episodes. These things fly by where we talked about it was millions of gallons of bleach was being ordered in one California town to dilute the sewer water.
Yes, because
that's poop. That's not just one person peeing in 7.8 million
yes,
gallons.
That's
poo and diarrhea and all that other
That's all that nasty
Anything
fecal matter is mixed in with your water in many major metros.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying this kid that peed in the water, he should have faced some kind of consequences.
No, actually, they just said he's being disrespectful and let him go. Why?
What?
Yeah, they questioned him and told him that he was being, they said, your actions are disrespectful. And he reportedly said, quote, I didn't mean to show disrespect. I thought this was a sewage treatment plant.
Oh, well, I could see they are kind of close because a lot of times, wastewater treatment.
Well, they clean it and then they
treatment.
feed it to you. They got to clean it in the sewer plant and then they put it in the reservoir for you to drink.
Oh.
That's how the water works, Nick.
Well,
what do you think? There's always this fresh glacier water melting? It's all dinosaur pee.
That's true.
Luckily, though,
it's not really. I mean, it's not really the pee itself. I don't think was really an issue. I mean,
I'd worry about the dead possum more than the pee.
I could see bodies in the water being an issue, but urine is
we all
fairly
drink
sterile and it's been so diluted. I mean,
I'm not too worried.
Even a gallon of urine diluted in 7.8 million other gallons.
Do people really think that all the water they drink is fresh?
It's much less than a part per million.
It's all like pristine water, never been touched. It comes from some magical source.
I don't know. There's probably more mercury or something in that water than there is
I feel
urine.
like these people missed like the basic 3rd grade water cycle lesson.
Yeah.
It all moves around.
It does.
Moves from here to
it's under
here.
the ground, and
it
then it's in the ocean,
evaporates.
and then it's in the air. Then it's in your toilet. It goes all over the place.
He's a bureaucrat, and bureaucrats don't have consequences. The taxpayer is the one who has to pay.
No, it's not his money. Not his water.
Luckily, they can rest assured that for now, there won't be this man's human pee in the water. And I guess they can just continue to spend millions of dollars to cap
Yeah, but the ducks probably land on it and go to the bathroom in it.
Duck pee is not as bad as human pee. What about fish
Actually,
poop?
birds don't really urinate.
No, don't they just squish out a wet poop? Is that how it works?
Keeping this clinical here, they do, yes, they discharge their solid and fluid waste as kind of, that's why bird poop is the way
efficient.
it is. Yes.
Efficiency at its best.
They only have one exit.
I never knew that, Nick.
Yes.
I'm glad that you're on the show to clarify such things. But fish pee, right? Or is it the same kind of thing?
Honestly, I haven't spent that much time
mixed
watching fish to see if they pee. I don't know.
Anyways,
I don't know the answer
I know
to
they
that.
poop. Everything poops. All right, moving right along. We don't have much time for it, but if you might be watching this video on YouTube, and if you want to, you can embed this video, but if you embed other videos or you upload videos of singing songs, you might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, apparently you don't just have to worry about, say, uploading a copyrighted song or copyrighted music video. Apparently, if you perform in or upload a video of, say, you lip syncing or just singing in the shower a certain song that's copyrighted, which is most of them, right? At least in this day and age, most music is copyrighted. So it doesn't have to be anything like the original. It doesn't have to be, a 5-year-old kid, I think that's one of the cases they reference here, singing the latest Justin Bieber song is not at all the same as Justin Bieber performing the latest Justin Bieber song.
No,
I don't want to watch either.
I'm not going to be buying Justin Bieber songs because instead I get my fix from the 5-year-old singing it.
Yeah, see, there's no competition here. This is not an issue, but apparently the U.S. Senate thinks it is, and the recording industry, I presume, lobbied for this. They don't explicitly say. I mean,
oh yeah, they did.
The U.S. Senate Bill 978 is the one that would criminalize this stuff. You would be penalized with a 5-year prison sentence.
Up to.
Right.
They'll
or
be lenient.
Recording yourself lip syncing.
In all honesty, you'd probably
or
be hit
singing
with
in the
a
shower,
fine.
or performing this stuff in any
You'd be
way.
hit with a fine, depending on what it was, and you'd probably
Look, there's already
get
copyright
probation.
legislation on the books. I don't see why you would need a new law.
And I say we get rid of that too.
Yeah, I do too. But if the recording industry, and we have very stringent intellectual property laws that favor the recording industry, very stringent copyright laws already, I think the penalties are ridiculously
Very
excessive.
silly.
If they can't make a case, if they can't go into a court of law and make a case with the existing copyright law that this is copyright infringement, maybe there's a reason. Our ridiculously one-sided copyright law system, which already favors the recording industry or anybody who produces copyrighted information, maybe there's a reason that they wouldn't actually be able to win a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Maybe they shouldn't be wasting the federal government's time with this, the people uploading these videos' time with this, or the court system's time with this.
Yep.
Maybe the recording industry should just go crawl into a hole and die.
I like that
because
idea.
it's outdated.
That's great.
And they haven't been able to update their business model. They can pass all these laws
Or
they
they
want,
just sue
but
the
they're a
consumer
dinosaur.
instead. Sue the consumer.
It-
This also
It doesn't
covers
have
plays
to be
now.
that way. They could be competitive.
This covers plays too. This can cover karaoke if you're not properly licensed. This can, if you have 10 people watching you,
What if
10
I just-
performances in 180 days, you can be hit with this felony.
What if I just sing it in front of friends? Just sing a song that has
There's
copyright
10
on
of
it.
them within 180 days that watch it. You can be hit with this fine under this legislation. Very silly.
Well, it's more than silly. I mean, 5 years, it's making a felony crime out of nothing. And again,
But it's
this
okay
is
now.
not a copyright issue.
It's a free country.
This really isn't
Just
a
remember
copyright
that. It's
issue.
a free country. More liberties.
Maybe if these
than
people
any
made
other
money
place.
off of the video, the recording industry would have a legitimate claim against some of the money. Some of the money.
No.
I'd even be
If
willing to go that
Bieber
far.
can't compete with a 5-year-old lip singing, Nick, he should just go crawl in that hole and die with the rest of them. Anyways, we're out of time for this week. We'll be back next week with an all-new episode. Until then, it's been Toby here with you.
And Nick.
freemindsmedia.com or .org. In the meantime, have a great night.
Is liberty dying where you live? Escape to Keene at freekeene.com.